here. The Hangout is now live. Hello and welcome to episode, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is the fourth one.
This is the fourth one. Can you imagine? Episode 4. We're actually keeping great on track for at least this little commitment we gave to each other for little one episode a month. Maybe towards the end of the year we'll try to add some more. But hey, temptation, you never know. You never know. But hey, might as well. You're here. I'm here. David Esquire, international wedding photographer.
Oh, whatever.
Explorer, based out of Newport Beach, California. Inspirational, motivational speaker, and awesome all-around guy. Thank you for being here. I am your host, Olivier Day, straight out of Candiac, Quebec, Canada. We're here, as always, for the DayLight webcast with David Esquire. Just really coming back to you every single month, just trying to put in our little 2 cents in this wonderful world and craft of photography. As we understand, it's not just about the gear you own, it's about how you use it and the creativity and breadth that you bring to your creative craft. But what we try to do is, again, we're not trying to preach, we're not trying to be, holier than thou. All we're trying to do is just add a little bit more of a little flair, just a little bit more of our respective knowledge and experience, trying to bring you the best of what we know and what we hope you can bring to your own craft. So, every day is another image, another opportunity to make one. To everybody tuning in the audio version, because yes, again, on episode 3, I announced that again with the episodes are going to be mostly in an audio format. So as soon as this broadcast finishes, again with the power of Google and the power of knowledge, we're basically going to have the MP3 versions available for everybody who wants to download them off iTunes and all that wonderful, wonderful creative stuff. Today,
dun, dun, dun.
dun, dun, dun. What is on the agenda? On last conversation, David brought up a really good point about the prevalence of the mobile platforms being the important way, whereas as photographers and as creative thinkers, we have to basically put our work out there. And again, you're really doing yourself a disservice if your platform as itself, not just your website, but your overall platform and brand does not have a mobile outlet, because chances are, whether you're a bank, whether you're a band, whether what type of service you offer, you have to have a mobile platform, a solid and secure one, because again, security is primary. But again, you want to have a solution that's simple, straightforward, and accessible. And basically, if you're not on mobile, you're really, really shooting yourself in the foot. So that's what David and I we realized that it was really important to touch on today. And but David, thank you so much for your insight, because I'm sure you've got your fair share of experience, because again, you really promote the transition towards mobile. And as a Google Glass Explorer, I'm sure you've got your fair share of tidbits and tricks to actually tell us how Google Glass basically constitutes a more open platforms towards mobile. And of course, we're going to touch on that a little bit towards the hour, but I'd love for you to extend on how Glass, for you, because I'm sure you've gotten your fair share of critique, is it more of a fad, or is it basically like, quote unquote, the way of the future? But we're definitely going to touch on that. But let me just fire it off. Again, it's kind of a fiery question, but in your experience, David, what good is a DSLR these days? If we're just staying within the topic, what good is a DSLR these days?
Well, it's completely worthless. No, the DSLRs are awesome. I mean, they have their place, and they are still dominating the photography industry, as we know. But there is a huge change that's happening right now to the Micro Four Thirds mirrorless cameras, as well as micro technology, where they're shoving in bigger sensors and higher quality photography abilities into the mobile phones, and then of course Google Glass. And that's pretty much the transition. I mean, if you look over the years for the history of photography, we've gone from this enormous box that you would just peer through, and then you go to plates of glass, and then you go to large format, medium format, 35mm was introduced, and now we're going into the next evolution, which is Micro Four Thirds with mirrorless systems. And then, of course, what I'm probably going to be using a lot more of, and I do, my Nokia 1020. This is awesome. And, there's a lot of different options out there, but I firmly believe that going from a DSLR to mobile photography, there's a point and a place for everything out there. So the tools, you have to use the right tools for the right project, but you can push the limits of the project with your tools. And that's where it starts to get really creative. But a DSLR, that's still going to dominate the industry for now. I totally expect the DSLR to be going the wayside of large format cameras to where it's really not necessary to have something like that for wedding photography, for sports photography, for fashion and portrait and commercial, and the list
Even
just goes
sports,
on
you
and
really
on.
think that sports basically are going to open the door towards mobile? So if we take the Sochi Olympics, which just wrapped up just recently, so you're saying that towards maybe the next second, third, or fourth Olympic going forward, we might see staff photographers showing up with camera phones?
Absolutely. I 100% believe that's going to happen. There was a fashion show that was done last year that was, the entire thing was filmed on iPhone 5S's from video to stills. There's more and more people that are just breaking out the smaller gear, and you see a lot more photographers out there that are using the smaller gear as well. And the instant ability to be able to share the work, that is the biggest thing that's driving it. And
the connectivity, the community.
Yeah, the connectivity, exactly. To be able to share a photo within 120 seconds to where you can actually capture the photo, you can edit the photo, you can mark the photo with your watermark or insignia, and then you can share it through social media. That can happen significantly faster than having a DSLR, transferring the files to your notebook, and then going ahead and editing it on the notebook and then shoving it up on the internet. There's a step-by-step process, whereas that's pretty much all eliminated. Instead of doing long division, as I think of it, where you're transferring work from the DSLR to your computer, you're able to just do it all in the camera on the phone that you're using. And the tools that are available on the phones now are amazing. I mean, they're truly amazing. I've got both versions of Photoshop on my iPhone 5S, and it's epic. I can go ahead and do layers and gradients and color balance, and it's like a mini version of Photoshop in the full, for the particular app that's a little bit larger. What is it called on here? I have the two of them, and see, I have my iPhone right here. Ta-da! I have Photoshop Express and then Photoshop Touch, and the Photoshop Touch, it's a couple dollars, but it's worth it, and it gives you scaled-down versions
I have that
of
on the
Photoshop.
iPad. It's a lot of fun. I could never imagine one day where I would actually grab my iPad and do some editing directly from my iPad, and it's pretty sweet. Everything is slide. Everything is so intuitive and so touch responsive. It's crazy, and the designers and the engineers have really thought it out. It's like, how would be the optimal way to use this tool for this particular task? And
Definitely.
I think that Adobe really hit it out of the park in terms of the app itself. Is, again, whereas Photoshop itself, as the actual bulky software that we've known and loved, is very intimidating to most, but the app is very inviting. If you just grab your iPad, put the Photoshop app on there, you have no idea how intuitive that is. It's just crazy, and the amount of color and detail and gradients and the customization you can apply to your image with that one little app is mind-boggling, and I really do follow up on you with that.
Nice. I've got one particular photo that I shared earlier. I use it as a master template to go ahead and work with the different layers. I've got certain things pre-programmed into this one particular file, and I don't know if you can kind of see it right there on my iPhone, but you can see the photo that I shared earlier today.
Yeah, I saw that one.
You can see right here along the right side of the phone, there's all these different layers that I use, and that's amazing. That's on your iPhone. You can do this.
Just on
that's
phone.
Amazing. Even with iMovie on your iPhone, a lot of the videos that you'll see on my YouTube channel are all shot and edited.
Yeah, you do a lot of handheld, especially after your sessions or before your sessions on your glass exploring. You do a lot of handheld, and that's always on your phone. So all those videos basically is strictly from the phone to your channel. There's no going back home, do the post-processing, and then uploading the video.
It's all edited on the actual iPhone itself. Plus, with the additional apps, if I wanted to add any particular graphics, if I wanted to add any different effects to my video, I can do that with other apps on the iPhone, and then go ahead and then manipulate it with, I can trim it, I can cut it, I can add audio, I can have different layers of audio on the iPhone, and then add pictures in it. It's amazing. You can't do that on the Nokia phones yet, but I'm sure that's going to be coming. But to take my iPhone 5S and go out there and know that it's like I can shoot behind-the-scenes footage for the movies that I work on and be able to share it instantly while I'm on the set, that is a very, very big point to have available, a very big piece of work. Sorry, my glass is going off here. I should have shut it off. It's like I'm getting distracted. It's like, like social media updates as I'm talking. And again, there's the connectivity thing. the micro technology. I've got glass, and I've got my social media updates coming through on it, phone calls, text messages, everything. It all comes through on my glass, and it's just a matter of just going, oh, okay, there it is, and I can see what's happening. And it's a little bit distracting when I'm trying to record a video with you, but...
But from the glass perspective, just again, just talking for the sake of just forward thinking into the future, is it photography that's dying, or is it the photographer as a trade, or as the thing now? Because I'm just seeing you with the glass on your head, and I'm just thinking, okay, ceremony, bride and groom with glass.
Yeah.
Okay, we're streaming the wedding live. Okay, so it's where does the photographer? Where is the place of the photographer there anywhere? Suppose the entire audience has glass. I know that'd be really freaky, but still.
That would be weird.
that would be weird. But you see my point. You see my point, because again, so why do I need a photographer? If it's basically, are we rendering? Is this is technology and the road it's gone thus far rendering the photographer irrelevant?
No, I don't think that at all. It's opened up the environment, the ecosystem, for people to capture more photos with more tools, and it's made it a lot more user-friendly. But I don't believe that it's the technology that is ruining photography per se. If I were to say something like that, where people go around and they argue the point, well, digital technology has ruined photography.
Oh, no.
No, that's completely silly, because if I were to believe in that particular thought process, then I would have to say, well, my gosh, you know, that silver spoon that I use has made me fat. Or, you know, it's like, think about it. I mean, the logic,
true.
There's no logic with that. It's like,
That's true.
The digital camera ruined photography, the spoon made me fat, and guns kill people. Huh?
No.
No, an inanimate object cannot do anything. People are the ones that are ruining the industry. Photographers are ruining the industry. And I think that there should be truly a different way and a different approach to help educate other photographers, other than putting out there on the internet, hi, my name's Bob, and I shot this with a camera 5D Mark III. These were my settings. This was my color balance. This was the lens that I used, and blah, blah, blah. Now you can do the same thing. The learning curve has been completely destroyed. Your photographers are handing the whole process over to other photographers without that new photographer learning how to fail, learning how to decide for themselves what their particular taste is.
Okay.
And there are no masters of the craft when people are coming up into the industry and embracing digital technology, but they're not learning it. I hear that from so many people. You know, I don't understand how this works. I don't understand how that works. But yet I want to go ahead and shoot a wedding. I want to shoot a dance recital. I want to shoot a music video, whatever, but yet they don't know how to use their equipment. They don't know how to master their craft, because all they've been doing is going on YouTube. They've been going out there on Google+, Facebook. I mean, going to Facebook for relationship advice would be like going to Walmart for fashion tips. It's like, give me a break. You know, the same thing with photography. It's like, people need to realize that it's not the technology, it's the photographer. It's the people that are out there that are abusing this technology and really not understanding the power that it truly, truly has. And that's where the crux of the problems are. And I really hope that with this particular video program that you and I are doing, we help educate a lot of photographers around the world without giving away the entire farm. Like, here's everything it takes to take this particular picture. It's like, no, we're giving you the methods and the processes and the information that you need to succeed in the industry. But it's up to the individual to take that, you know, particular stance that, okay, I'm going to learn my craft. And quite bluntly, if somebody doesn't, then they're disrespecting themselves personally and professionally. They're disrespecting the industry, the craft, and even worse off, they're disrespecting the client. And I've been on some different forums where photographers didn't have a clue what they were doing, and they're like, oh my gosh, I have a photo shoot in like 3 hours. Can somebody tell me what lens to use? Go use a pancake lens on your micro four thirds.
I've seen so many of those. Like, the day of, you realize that I have no idea how my gear works.
Right.
Yay.
Yeah, and, you know, I see wedding photographers or people that want to be wedding photographers that'll be on the forum the day before. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Then why did somebody accept the opportunity?
Why did you sign up for this?
Really, it's like
not the time.
Right. You know, just because I can spend $50 on a pair of scissors doesn't mean I can cut my hair really awesome. So I have a professional that does that for me. Just because I can go out and buy a flute doesn't make me a professional flutist, and I'm not going to go out and audition for the LA Philharmonic. Same thing with photography. The tools have to be mastered. That is a given. But photographers they're choosing not to do that. They're choosing to steal photography from others. They're choosing to steal written word from others, and they're choosing to pawn it off as their own. And no.
That is sad. I was reading a very interesting article on The Guardian this morning on the Guardian photo section, and there was a wonderful article about the prevalence of mobile photography in the photography realm, whether it's either on international assignments or covering sports events, or you just see this long pano shot of a bunch of people standing in front of the Mona Lisa, everybody with their camera phone up taking a photo of the Mona Lisa, which is at the end of the room. And the author was trying to make a point where we have a disconnect with not just the tool because we don't care to know how it works, because again, there's the app for that. You just take the photo and then Instagram is going to apply the filter, and then you don't need to know how Instagram is going to connect to Facebook and upload your photo to Twitter, and you don't care. You just want to take the photo. And the point the author was trying to make is that we're diluting sort of the learning curve, as you put it. The craft itself is suffering because nobody cares to know the process anymore. You just want it to work. And this prevalence of connectivity, and I want the photo now, you don't get to appreciate the scene. You don't get to appreciate the moment. And that disconnect you have with the tool is disappearing because it's your phone. And I thought that made a very interesting point, because with the prevalence of all these staff photographers, whether it's the Boston Chronicle and all these photographers getting sacked, and you realize that, again, amateurs are the news journalists of the day. Because, again, you're just newswires, okay, upload this photo to ICNN, and then, yeah, we'll give you a stipend for that photo. But still, how am I supposed to contend with that? Because, again, I am a professional. Because, again, there is a tool for the particular craft, because I can't go to the safari and shoot a rhinoceros with an iPhone. Can I, David? Like, really? I need a certain type of gear. I could, but that would be very, I wouldn't recommend it. But it made me think. It really made me think, this disconnect that, because again, that photo was very interesting, where you see all these people in the Louvre in front of the Mona Lisa, and everybody has their phone. They're looking at their phone, but they're not looking at the painting. And I wonder, like, okay, what is happening? Do we really care about the photo? Do we really care about the moment? Are we letting the technology remember for us? Because again, you have 10,000 photos on your phone, and it's only after when iTunes tells you, well, you know what, you should back up your phone, and you realize, I don't remember when I took this photo. I don't remember. I should probably save these. When did I take that? And you realize you have 20,000 photos that you can't possibly sort. It's insane. And it's crazy. And the prevalence, again, because when you had 24 exposure rolls and now you have a 16 gig memory card, you're asking for trouble, either as a professional photographer in the editing process, or as, Mr. and Mrs. Nobody, and you're trying to find these photos. All you're doing is spraying and praying. It gets cumbersome. And I'm just a little bit worried about the craft in itself. That we're diluting the craft.
Well, the dilution is definitely there, but on a psychological, scientific level, it's already being proven that the camera phone is making people stupid. And that's blunt. It's as harsh and in your face as it's going to get, but there's already studies being proven that people that are constantly at an event going, taking pictures and videos and blah, 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 when they're using this, they are reducing their ability to remember what has happened. They're not getting the mental imprint. They're not getting the capture in their brain, which is far more superior than this right here. And there are studies being proven that people are not remembering events. They're not remembering photos. You can look online, and it's amazing. It's very powerful. It's very, very powerful. And that's concerning, because so many people, like you're saying, it's diluted. All they want is they want to take capture a photo with your phone, apply an Instagram filter, and throw it up online and saying, look what I can do. Well, no, the person didn't do it. The machine did all the work. The person did not think on how to capture that particular photo. So the thought process, the educational process to get to the knowledge to be able to capture a proper photo, whether it be on your iPhone, your Nokia, Android, DSLR, it doesn't matter. It's all being reduced. And I thought that, gosh, when Obama was being inaugurated, And like the photo that you were just describing where people were at the Mona Lisa, there was a camera that was at the back of the room when Obama was being inaugurated, and he came up on stage, and all of a sudden you see a bunch of hands go up, and there's iPhones and iPads and iPad minis and everything else, and you see just nothing but a bunch of LCD screens that just show up in the audience. And I thought, well, how are these people going to remember these things? And then I had seen just recently, and that was like a big, couple of years span, period of time. And then I had recently seen all these studies coming out where it's being proven that people are not remembering things. The camera phone, if abused, like any other technology, is causing a problem with memory loss. And it's just, it's like anything else. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing. So people are relying on their machines to do all the work for them. They're not making the mental imprint, and they're going to forget about things. And like you said, when did I take that photo? I have 10,000 pictures on my iPhone. Oh my gosh, I don't remember what I did. I don't remember how I did this. Blah, 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 blah. Duh. It's like, because you didn't think. You didn't remember the event. You didn't put any thought process into it. That's what's the problem right now. So I encourage other people that are listening to us and watching this particular video. I think it should be done, and it's kind of scary. It's really scary. We're going to have, like in 10 years, a bunch of people that are completely devoid of the ability to capture a photograph properly because they don't know how to. So when they run into a jam, they're like, ah, and they freak out, and they just completely fail miserably. It's something to think about.
It is something to think about because it is a concern, because I was reading that article and I'm thinking to myself, we all do it. We all do it because your instinct, because when I see my daughter just crawling around and eating cardboard, and I'm just like, hey, great. My thought process is not to run to the other room, grab my camera, grab my DSLR, come back, hold on. It's just like, okay, let me just square in like which lens? No, just go in my pocket, grab my phone, click. There we go. Share with my wife. Hey, look what the baby did. She's eating cardboard. It's like, yay. But right now, when I'm thinking to myself, okay, do I have a conscious thought into creating this image, or am I just going through the motions? Because they always tell you that your house is burning down, you're going to grab your keys, you're going to grab your phone, you're going to grab your wallet. And, of course, you're going to grab your wife and kids, obviously.
Not necessarily in that order, he's saying.
Not necessarily in that order. But still. The phone in itself is the phone function itself is an app on your phone. Most people don't call each other anymore. It's just you're texting, you're going on Skype, you're doing on WhatsApp, now Facebook. But it's pretty insane. And I really, again, it's not that I'm worried because I embrace technology as it is and I welcome it, and I just like seeing that paradigm shift. But it's always a concern of saying, like, okay, are we relying too much? Are we giving technology too much of a relevance into our creative process? And that's always something. Even because, again, that's why I'm asking you the question from your professional perspective, having done so many weddings and covered so many events, whether through glass or whether through your Nokia. Are you worried that at some point, again, like the disappearance of the SLR, is that a worry or is that a good thing?
I think it's a good thing. I'm not worried about the technology. I'm worried about the people. That's what my concern is about. And when companies like Nokia can create a phone that's got a pretty amazing sensor on it, has incredible software on it, the ability to capture a digital negative on it, or considered to be like a digital phone camera raw image, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. But when you have that full control to be able to capture a photograph the way you want to do it, then that becomes a good thing. When people stop trying to think for themselves, then it's a bad thing. But I totally embrace the technology. I love the direction it's going. I love how glass has introduced an entire new genre, an entire new arena of the ways that we can capture life, the way that we can participate in life, and the way we can learn. There's a lot of great things about it, but like everything else, too much of a good thing is a bad thing, and then the abuse of the power that we're given can be a bad thing as well. But I'd really like to see a lot more people, if they can't make the investment of getting, a Nokia like this, the 1020, then I encourage them to get maybe the 920. And a lot of these phones you can get for free now, or you can get them really, really cheap, and then you can have the flexibility of having the Nokia Pro Camera app where you can control everything just like on your DSLR. And the flexibility is there, and the ability to think for yourself is there. And I'd like to see a lot more people embrace the tools that they can use in different situations.
Do you see a future with what well no, where I'm trying to phrase the question is more from your perspective. What do you think the resistance is coming from as far as glass explorers? I'm sure it's because of the limited availability of glass, but aside from that, are you seeing more resistance or people more open-minded to the entire geekiness of being a glass explorer? Like, is the barrier starting to fold in your opinion?
I do see the barrier folding. I see more people that are a lot more accepting of it. It's a new technology. It's a new way of life. It's a new way to participate in life. And like all new technologies, the human reaction is to be afraid of it because that's what we've been programmed to be like over the span of our lives. And that's kind of scary. That truly is scary that people are just in general inherently afraid of new technology. Technology is not there to ruin our lives. It's there to enhance our lives. It's there to make it better, but it's up to us to make that decision on how we can do this. And I think that barrier for glass is folding, and the more that products are coming out that will be wearable technology like the phones, the watches, the this, the that, it doesn't really matter, and people are able to see how it can make a difference. I do see a lot more people embracing it, and even this past week there was a gentleman that wrote an article about being a glass hole, which is a negative description about a person that would have Google Glass.
Okay.
And the whole thing is that are people that are not happy with glass, are they that afraid of it, or are they so stuck on themselves, and are they that narcissistic to where they think that everybody walking around is going to be capturing a photograph of them? And I thought it was really interesting that this article came out because I've actually had this discussion with people to where when glass is on, the LCD prism right here lights up. You can see when this particular device is on, when it's active. But if I were to just sit here with my iPhone and start recording, you don't know that I'm recording. There's no red light on this. If I were to bust out, my Nokia right here, you don't know that I'm recording, or my Android right here. It's like, you don't know that I'm recording? You have no idea. And, I think that that's a great thing that people need to explain to people, that, we're not walking around shooting video and photos of a bunch of people.
I think it goes back to the barrier. I think it goes back to the barrier created, again, going back to the presence of the DSLR between me, photographer, camera being the photographer, the camera being the tool, and the person on the other end being the subject. There's always like, okay, there is that barrier. It's like, okay, you're in my bubble. I'm allowing you in my bubble. And again, if the DSLR is pointed at you, it's like, okay, I'm sorry, you can't take my photo. Or were you taking my photo just now? But now the fact that glass is so absent, if you will, it's just part of the individual, and the person walking down the streets in New York is just gonna go, are you taking my photo right now? Are you taking my photo right now? It's a bit of insecurity, and again, it's being in your bubble, because there's always that individual that's not comfortable with you being in their quote-unquote bubble. And the second that they hear about taking a photo, it's like taking it apart themselves. Oh, you just stole my photo. And it's an understandable discomfort, because I've gone through that all the time. Every time I do some street photography, I always have to be you have to be so polite. You have no idea who you're going to offend. Some people really don't care, but some people is like, what did you just do? And it's these are situations you're going to go through every single time. And again, I see glass being yet another tool that people are just going to have to learn to accept at some point. And again, just like you, I'm seeing the shift. That's why I'm asking the question, because you're living with it. I can only take it from the Canadian standpoint. But I see there's a slow acceptance of glass going around. You see a few going around, and I'm like, oh, here's a Glass Explorer. Oh, Glass Explorer. And then there's going to be a point where you're not even going to care, because, hey, it's just like having a car or just having the latest iPhone. Like, you're just, oh, okay, another Glass Explorer. There you go. But it's big deal. It's big deal. It's just a wonderful thing to realize how technology is slowly but surely taking it on. And again, glass. Again, I have no idea what Google has in store, what more they can add to it, because again, the guys are just like pushing out stuff every single day. But I'd love to see where glass is going. If I can see 10 years into the future, I'd love to see how glass is going to hold its place throughout the society. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be awesome. But here's also something to think about. The argument again about glass being, it's impacting society, how it's impacting other people's lives. Okay, I'm wearing glass and I'm walking down the street. It's obvious I have glass on. It's obvious I'm wearing it, and it's obvious I'm out in public wearing it. But here's another thing. Nobody knows what that little clip is on my shirt. It looks about half the size of an iPhone. You know, it's about yay big, about this big, and it's right here. What's this thing doing? What's this thing doing? Nobody knows what that is, and there's people walking around with one of those life blogger devices. I don't need a camera on me recording something every other second or every minute of my day.
Of course not.
But there's that. Then you also, and people don't know about that, and they don't even know what it is. They don't know what it can do. So that is out there in public right now. People are wearing GoPros. People are wearing those little lipstick cameras that are about the size of glass right here on their helmets of their motorcycles. People are wearing spy cameras that look like a pair of Wayfarers, but they have a camera right here in the middle. And that's out there in public. And nobody's making an argument about that. Nobody knows about these particular things. So for us to actually walk out in the open and wear glass and to be able to capture life with it, it's pretty obvious. The interesting thing is that glass doesn't really impact me. You know, I don't want to say impact me in general. I want to say impact me in a negative way. I don't run into these negative experiences. I was just at the movies the other night with a friend, and I never worried about glass. Like, oh gosh, you know, the manager of the movie theater is going to come over. Are you recording this movie? No, it's all in how the particular person is wearing the product, how we are using our cameras, how we are using our digital phones. Are we being jerks? Are we being
when I interact with you, you're so right. When I interact with you, I know that you're a glass explorer, and God, we've talked about glass for months on end. But every time we exchange, I hardly notice it, quote unquote. I never notice that glass is there. Like, hey, he's wearing glass. Like, how is that going? No, it's just part of you. It's just a daily tool. It's just like wearing glasses. Yeah, for a bad pun, but yeah.
Exactly. And now with the new frames coming out, they look like glasses with a little attachment to them. They don't have this, you know, big aluminum bar going across. They look like a pair of prescription lenses with glass attached to them. And it's becoming just more of a regular thing. And I really hope that people embrace that a lot more, and I think that they will. The big thing with photography and all the changes that are happening for us had a huge paradigm shift this past week in the country of Turkey. And Turkey has now made it illegal to capture a photograph of somebody without their permission. That is going to change how people do street photography.
Legally.
That is going to change everything about that. And I got into a conversation with some people, and apparently that is happening in Australia as well, to where...
Yes, Australia, I knew that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what? But then it's like, okay, well, I think about it here in California, I can't take pictures in front of a building. So the openness of us being able to capture photography, that particular world, that universe, that tent that we are working within, the arena, is getting a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller.
The rate of the breadth of locations where we can actually shoot is actually getting that much smaller, because for some reason there's still that stigma of photography equals terrorist or thieving. Like I said, you know, stealing my image, stealing my likeness, or you have to have my permission. But with the art, so that's why they're just tearing down. If we're taking the Turkey and Australia example, they're just tearing down that one little scope of activity we have. Like, okay, this is a public place. I am in a park. It just so happens that you're tossing this football in my frame. I'm not. It was just an interesting throw. But hey, I'm not trying to actually. But it's paranoia. It's the government's. It's the legislators being ill-informed. Because even if I wanted to play devil's advocate, I'm trying to understand what is the legitimate concern here.
I don't see really there being. I don't see it being a really big problem. I mean, street photography, really, please. It's a public space. It's open. Blah blah blah. But I do see a lot of reasons why things like this are becoming necessary to happen in society, and it's not because of the person in front of the camera. It's because of the person behind the camera. Where were all these laws 50 years ago when people are just shooting large, medium format, and then 35 millimeter? No, because people had to master their craft. They had to understand the psychology of being a photographer. They had to understand the psychology of working with other people. That is awesome. But then today, where the technology is readily available for us to capture photos on whatever device, those people have not understood the power of what they have. They're not wielding this power properly, so they're just really, they're pissing everybody off. You know, we got somebody around Los Angeles with a truck, and he has fabricated this amazing mini studio on the side of his truck, driving down the street, shock therapy. He's like capturing people's photos while he's driving down the street in his truck.
Whoa.
And people are like, huh? What's that? What's this? You know, and it's just some putty as a photographer, and I understand he wants to get that particular experience, but then that is in a way invasive, because here we have this guy with a big 35 millimeter phone, or excuse me, 35 millimeter camera sticking out his truck window with lighting and everything, and he's driving down the street and just bam, bam, bam.
Wow. I can see how that could be a
that
concern.
is, you know, for a lack of better terms, and I'm going to just have to say it, person's being an asshole. They really are.
Yeah.
And that's not somebody wielding that technology and that power properly. It's not cool. I personally would be upset. You know, I'm a motorcycle rider. I love riding my Ducati. I love getting out there in the street, and I love be able to, you know, just like the openness of it. I can't describe it any other way than equating it to somebody. See here. See? Look. Okay, Google Glass is on, and a phone call is coming through. You can see it's on.
It's on. It's
Decline call. There we go.
That's so cool.
But see, you could tell when it's on, you guys.
You can tell it's on. You can tell it's on. You had it live. It's right there. It's in your face. You're not recording.
So, like, people need to respect the technology that they have. They need to understand it a lot better and to not go around and abuse it. So I understand why we've gotten to where we are with society and with politicians enacting these laws. It's sad that we're at this point. Seriously, it's truly sad, and I really would love to see more people, you know, just understand the power of the technology that they're holding in their hands, and to be respectful of it, to appreciate it, and to appreciate and respect other people in front of it. Because if they don't, then there are going to be more laws that are going to come up around, not only in Europe, but there's going to be more laws that are going to come up here in North America, you know, the USA, Canada, the South America, other countries as well, to where they're going to just be like, you know what, screw it, just ban it all.
It's a lot of disinformation, because
why
not just be you know, gung ho and just like, okay, let's just have a totalitarian government and just like, let's just ban everything. You know what? You just can't shoot outside. You just can't.
Right.
You just can't. For the sake of the argument, when you're having a party and a dinner party at your friends, and you can't take photos of your friends either. It's like, okay, fine, because you can't bring photos home. It's like, okay. Right. So it's like Lady Gaga that was banning fans from taking photos at the stadium. I think Beyonce did the same thing, and a lot of artists are also doing that. That's pretty insane, because I get the entire marketing aspect, I get the entire, you know, protecting your image aspect, but when you're just preventing fans from taking a little bit of a memory from the event, which they paid to be here to, it's like, I think that's a little unfair. So it's just a small example of how, taken to a very large extreme, that these laws are really going to make life very difficult for photographers going forward, as if we don't have enough to deal with right now.
Right. And like what you're saying about the artist banning photography at their events, their big argument is that they want people to enjoy the event, just like having an unplugged wedding. Put your stupid phone down, put your camera down. We've hired a professional photographer to capture all the images and the memories properly. We're here, you know, we want you to be here to enjoy the event, be a part of it, not to walk around and be shooting it and be hiding behind an LCD. The artists are taking the same stance with that. But on the other side of the token is that this is a new generation that's coming up, and that's how they appreciate the event. That's how they want to remember the event, document the event. So there's all these different arguments that go into it.
It's the law of the land.
Yeah, but what's going to happen is that people are continually abusing this technology. They are continually making it more difficult for us to use it out there in public. And if people don't start to get on board with the fact that they need to learn their craft, they need to learn how to deal with people, and they need to learn how to use the technology properly as they're standing on the shoulders of the photographic giants before them, like Leibovitz, Newton, Ritz, Ansel Adams, and everybody else that's been out there, you know, doing amazing things in art. If they don't stand on those shoulders properly, it's like a house of cards. It's all going to come tumbling down. And I
So
see it cracking right now with all these laws getting in place.
it is cracking. It is cracking. Whether for photographers, whether for just for the joy of doing photography on a daily basis, just like me. I am more for me. The photography is very therapeutic, not just as a business, but also very
Yeah,
therapeutic. You know, on
good
because
point.
you know, because from a perspective of just just creating, you like to disappear and just it's just you, your camera, and the subject, wherever it may be. Whether it's in my basement, just creating little product shots, or like making baby photos of my daughter, or just like going outside of the local park and just disappearing. But if I can't enjoy myself anymore, just knowing that, okay, I have to think about the law of where I am. Just like when I went to Paris, I have to actually look up the Paris street laws. When I go to New York, I know the street laws are different. I know the San Francisco, I've never been to San Fran, but I know that the laws are different. It's crazy what you
Yes.
have to think about, because you can't just show up and just take a photo. You can't do that anymore because
No.
you have no idea who you're taking a photo of and how they're going to react. But on a side note, but just taking a step from the legalese, but going back to the presence of the mobile, because it just hit me right now. What is in store for the manufacturers, David? Because again, if the DSLR is dying, so they're going to lose some money there.
Mhm.
Leave said it herself that the iPhone is the new Pocket Cam. We all know this.
Yep.
And when I think that when they say iPhone, yes, the iPhone as itself, as a tool, it's a great machine, it's a great piece of hardware, and bar none, it is the best mobile camera in your pocket, that's for sure. But of course, Android makes some great phones, Windows phones make some great phones, Nokia makes some, there's not a problem. So what I'm trying to say is, how can the manufacturers, Canon, Nikon, Olympus, how can they respond? Because again, if it's going to be mobile all across the way, again, let's forget all the OMDs and everything. Okay, if it's going to be on your phone, how can Nikon, Canon, Olympus, you name it, how can they capitalize on that? Are they going to make phones themselves, you think? Are they going to partner with Zeiss, or what's going to happen, David?
I would love to see the camera manufacturers actually start to partner with the technology companies that are making the phones. Samsung has been doing that with their particular phone. Gosh, what is it, like the Galaxy S or something like that, where it's basically a Samsung Galaxy, but it's in a camera. So there's a full Android iOS or OS on a camera. They're starting to work with that. Sony has created that little lens attachment that you can put on your mobile phone, to where you can actually have, here's your camera, and you have this big old attachment lens right here that you can clip on. That, I think, is definitely a smart thing that these particular manufacturers are doing. But the dinosaur companies like Canon and Nikon aren't doing that, and they're missing the boat. And I feel bad for them. I really do. And Canon went on record just, I think, a couple of weeks ago and announced that they're not going to be focusing on the point-and-shoot module, that point-and-shoot camera anymore, because, well, it's almost being eliminated with this. I don't take out my Panasonic GF1. It's the original Micro Four Thirds that came out. I hardly ever take it out anymore. In fact, I don't remember the last time I did take it out. Oh, wow, that's kind of scary. I know I use it as
scary.
one of my
scary.
backups.
I do have a point-and-shoot myself. I've got
yeah.
So
you got some,
it's a G11. It's a G11. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Just think about it. It's like, when's the last time I touched it? It's like, wow, I don't know.
Exactly. So I really hope that the camera manufacturers get on board with it. Sony introduced a whole new setup right now that is really amazing, and people are dumping their DSLRs and shooting with Micro Four Thirds. That's what they're using exclusively for their weddings. And I think that's great. I really do, and I think that the technology is going to go that way and become better and lighter and easier for us to be able to use. I really hope that the manufacturers keep up with that particular demand, because the manufacturers in any industry no longer dictate what is happening in the industry. It's the client. It's the end user that is dictating. The consumer. Exactly. The consumer dictates what happens. I don't dictate to my client what they want out of my photography. I'm here to provide a service. I'm here to do something for them. And that is just the way it is. And I really hope that the dinosaur companies, unlike Duran Rex, I really hope that the dinosaur companies catch on, because Sony and Panasonic, they're really coming up with some amazing products right now. And the pancake lens for my GF1 is sharp as a tack. I love that particular lens on there. It's absolutely amazing. It's great for street photography. And right now, the company, I think it was called Samyang, I think was the name of the lens company, there are specs on that lens. They've designed and created and crafted a lens that is now far more superior than Canon's L series lens, and at a fraction of the price. So that's saying a lot with the direction of the technology. They're these particular companies that are really innovative and really venturing out into the unknown are going to be paving the path for everybody else to follow in their footsteps. So the DSLR and the DSLR manufacturers, they better get on board. They really better do that.
Because I am concerned, because I do understand, going back to that kooky example I just gave earlier, I understand that there's a tool for the trade. Again, if I'm going to be covering a National Geographic assignment, I'm going to spend 3 months in the African Sahara covering the last white rhinoceroses in their natural habitat. I understand that an iPhone 5S isn't really going to cut it. I do need a certain particular tool for the trade. I got to be armed. I got to be ready. And again, if I'm a National Geographic photographer, chances are I know what I'm doing.
Yes.
But with mobile being so prevalent, if we're talking about Mr. and Mrs. whoever, for your daily, day-to-day photography as creatives, we have to understand that there has to be a certain point where you have to break away from the status quo and understand where a process isn't working anymore. And that's, again, it's not the best, most efficient way you could go about creating your images or, just capturing your moment, whether it's how you're covering your wedding, whether it's how you're capturing an event. Again, if mobile is where it's going, and we're talking about your online presence, but also how you promote your crafts, how you promote your images, how you decide to share them, that connectivity, that social aspect of it, because you can't ignore social, because we are social people, we are social beings, and that's how photography has become in itself so organic. And that's the paradigm shift that I think we're living as people and as photographers. Mm-hmm. And the creative aspect of it, the mobile aspect of it, is something that people need to be sensitive about, because, again, this big, bulky monster, there's just like, again, I'm just sitting here and telling myself, okay, why do I do this? Why do I do this to myself? Like, sometimes you understand that, okay, for practice, for knowledge, again, you read the manual, you invested money into it, and you know that, okay, I bought it, and that's an argument too. I bought it, so I might as well use it.
Right.
I'm gonna go to, like you said, the guy that's gonna cover the wedding in 3 hours, and again, he wrote to borrow lenses and borrowed this big ass lens, and then like, oh, I have no idea how to use it. Oh, okay, but no, you have to understand that. Okay, come to terms with the fact that, okay, maybe I don't need all this gear, and the phone is maybe all I need. Tools of the trade, and understand that mobile is here to stay. And you better get on board. Otherwise, like we said at the top of the hour, you're really doing yourself a disservice. So pay close attention to that, you guys.
I really hope that people do. And I wrote a brief article about that before, and I've shared it a few times with other photographers. And I've seen a lot of amazing photographers here in Southern California just pretty much close up shop and retire early because they didn't evolve from film to digital. And that was just, it was a no-brainer for me. I love the latitude that I have, and just the universe for me to be able to shoot has grown exponentially with digital. But to see somebody that couldn't wrap their mind around it, or just really was just bucking the system and not going with it, and see these great photographers no longer shooting anymore, I'm sad about it. I really am.
It is.
And we don't need that many tools anymore. I mean, as I just showed you, with my DSLR, here's my Canon 5D, my big old honkin' 28 to 300 lens. That is my primary lens. This was the first lens that I wanted to get when I was switching from Minolta, when I was sponsored by Minolta, and I moved over to Canon when Minolta got rid of their camera division and they sold it to Sony, which is the reason why Sony's autofocus is rockin', because Minolta had an amazing autofocus system. Oh, yeah. I take that particular lens, and that was the first one that I wanted to buy, but I thought, no, there's no way that one lens can provide me more than 50% of the shots that I need to capture and the flexibility. Well, it is. It really is. And like you said, the tools of the trade, whether it be mobile photography, this could be something that somebody really only needs. I mean, clearly it's impacted our lives, and it's here to stay. It is here to stay, and it's changing everything. It's changing people's behaviors. And if you want to do a test study with that, if there's somebody out there that wants to find out how people react to photography and the difference and how it comes together, I encourage anybody out there, go ahead and grab your mobile phone, whether it be your iPhone or it's your Android or your Nokia. Go ahead and take this out with some friends and do some photography. And you're going to see that the people that you're working with and having fun with, it's a little more relaxed, it's a little more casual, it's a little more just laissez-faire. It's just kind of like, okay, cool, sure, well, it's fine. And then take out your DSLR, you know, bust this puppy out, be like, bum, bum, bum.
I'm not photogenic.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like, exactly, I'm not photogenic. Oh my gosh, my hair, my eyebrows, my this, my that, and it just changes the entire dynamic of what is happening. So the behaviors change, and that's why things are really changing for us with mobile photography, is that people aren't taking it seriously. And no. I've been out and done photo shoots with my Nokia, with my PureView 808, back when that first came out, and I got those before they even became public. And people, you know, security in downtown Los Angeles, when I was doing shoots with them, they were like, "Hey, you can't do, you know, professional photography here." And I'm like, "Well, it's just, you know, my Nokia.
It's just a phone. I'm sorry.
You know, it's just this, you know." And it's like, "Oh, okay, then it's okay."
Then it's okay.
Seriously. But if I would have had my DSLR, then it's gonna, you know, then that kind of changes things. But because mobile phones and glass and other products, it's changing things.
It's so much changing. It's all that we were talking about. We're talking about disinformation. It's about disinformation. It's about how people relate to the technology around them. It's about how much they know versus how much they're afraid of. Again, right. It's that when I was doing an event earlier this week, I was covering just a basic buddy of mine was just like DJing for a local club, and he said, like, you know, you should come take a few photos if you don't mind. We'll get you out, because I do some event photography as well. I hadn't done that in a while. I was like, hey, that's a good excuse. Like, okay, so I show up. And again, it's so funny because, again, I had cleared it with the talent, I had cleared it with the location, but so nobody told the bouncer. But the second I pulled out my gear, there you go. It's like, you can't shoot here. You can't shoot here. You can't shoot here. I'm going to have to ask you to pull back your gear. He's like, no, brush it off. Again, I didn't create a scene. I just put my gear back. But for some reason, I pull out my phone.
And it's okay.
But it's okay. You know, everybody on the dance floor is making selfies. It's okay, which is a social aspect in itself. The selfie is the new thing now. I don't get it. It's like the new Angry Birds. It's crazy. Like selfie is the new genre, like black and white, or I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's insane. It's like the new HDR, where everybody was doing HDR, now everybody's doing selfies. It's like you cannot not do a selfie. It's crazy. But that also is a social thing, because, again, it's like preserving self. It's like, if I don't take this photo of myself, I don't exist. But that's another subject for another topic. But that little rundown with the bouncer was an interesting adventure. I wasn't offended in any way. It was a bummer, but hey, I had a drink, and then I took a few beers with my wife and everything. It was a nice opportunity to go out with the wife. But still, it made me laugh so hard, because I just put back my gear, but I pull out my phone, but that's okay.
Right. Same
location, different tool. I'm still taking photos, but it's a phone, so it's okay. Like, yay, okay, yeah. I guess.
I ran into a similar situation in Vegas, where I went to go see Above and Beyond. Christine and I were in Vegas. We were going to see Above and Beyond, and I had glass on. I had glass on the entire time I was shooting there, and I was doing footage for Google with glass while I was in Vegas, and I was also shooting for myself. And we're at the venue, and security eventually came over to me, and they wanted me to take glass off and leave it with the coat check girl. I'm like, no, that's so not happening. So they made me promise that if I put it in my bag, it's okay. And I said, but I don't understand how come I can't take a photo with glass, but I can take my iPhone out of my pocket or my Nokia out of my pocket and take a photo or a video with that, and it's going to be better than what I can capture on glass.
On glass.
And the security guard just said that's just the way it is. They had no other reason other than they were doing their job.
Just because. And you can't. Again, I love the fact that you brought that up, because the same is parallel to the same thing I went through with the bouncer. Because again, it's his job. That's why I didn't cause a scene, because it's his job. He doesn't know why he's doing it. And for me, I could have gone all legalese and stuff but again, you're just having. You know this, David. If we can go legal on something, if we're assigned for an appointment, I can get really, really, really cocky. But that was not the time or place. But just like you in Vegas, why is it okay but with this but not with that? But chances are the person enforcing the rule doesn't know. Their only answer is going to be just because. I don't know, but that's the rule. And you can't fault the person for that. So you don't want to be the ass.
And I encourage all the photographers that are out there to just kind of roll with it, have a thick skin, don't become a jerk, don't get your ego in front of you, and just put your gear away. if the police come over to you while you're in a shoot, or security, just be respectful. Don't try and push that limit. If you do know for a fact you're well within your legal right to be able to take photos or video at a particular place, then stand your ground politely and respectfully. But if it's just going to escalate to where you're just going to make an ass out of yourself and embarrass yourself in front of your client, don't do it. It's just not worth it.
It's not worth it. And chances are your client will understand. They'll be bummed, but your client will understand, because there are certain situations where it's not in your control. You can do as much research as you can on the location, but sometimes somebody out of the blue will just come up and ruin the whole thing. And again, chances are, again, like we said, they're just enforcing, they're just doing their job, they're just applying the rule that was applied with no forethought. And again, you as a photographer, you have to be the better person and be above that, and just make the experience, again, okay, too bad, so sad, we'll just find another location. And chances are, again, your client, which is your primary focus, will definitely understand. I've never had a client who's like, oh man, it's like, you should have known. It's like, no, hey, look, talk to the guy, talk to the security bouncer. But again, we'll come back. It's not an issue. There's no reason to create a scene or to, again, you always want to leave the best experience, and that's also being responsible and being respectful. And that's no project is worth that. Definitely, your reputation.
It isn't. And like you pointed out, again, research, doing your homework as a professional photographer will make all the difference in the world for yourself, for your brand, for your client, for your business, and for others that you come in contact with. Prime example, last weekend I had the photo shoot with Ashley and Peter. They originally wanted to do downtown Pasadena, and I'm like, yeah, let's do that. That'd be great. And I know all these different amazing places. Then it changed, and they wanted to do something at a pier. And they were thinking Santa Monica Pier. And I said, well, Santa Monica Pier is great, and it's fun and all, but we may run into issues with security. They may pull me aside and make me sign paperwork, and they may even do what's happened to me before and kick me off the pier altogether because I can't capture commercial those experiences before. I was able to communicate that to my client, to Ashley and Peter, and let them know. So we made, again, a change in the date and the change in the schedule, and we wound up going to Huntington Beach, where I know for a fact that it's a lot more relaxed, it's a lot more fun. I don't have to worry about issues on the pier, I don't have to worry about issues around the environment, and it became a far more amazing experience than I could have ever imagined. It was like literally the perfect photo shoot, but it was because I did my research and I already knew about the venue and I already knew about the location and what to expect, and then I took the professional stance and communicated that effectively to my client, to where they understood, if we do this, we may run into this issue, or we can have A or B or C.
We can do this, but just so you know.
Right. And everybody out there that's listening and watching, I totally encourage you, do your homework, because it sets you apart as a professional. And if that's what you aspire to be, then be that. But it takes effort, it takes work, and it takes asking the tough questions sometimes. And then what's even worse is sometimes communicating that really jagged pill to your client that they may have been dead set it's going to be at the beach and we're going to do it at this hour and we're going to wear this.
They have it planned out from A to Z.
We're going to have camels and elephants and clowns.
And peacocks. You got to have peacocks.
Yeah, and it's like, no, that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
It's tough. It hurts to kind of shoot down the client's vision, but if you do that, then you're being a professional and you're respecting yourself, your business, your craft, the industry, and more importantly, the client that hired you to be the professional. There's a reason why people hire us. They're not just hiring us because we can capture amazing photographs. They're hiring us because the experience with me is going to be different than an experience with you. It's going to be a different experience from other people that are watching and listening. They're hiring us for that. And then they're hiring us because we're calling ourselves a professional photographer. If we are a professional, then that means that we should act accordingly and handle ourselves accordingly and treat our clients in the
utmost dignified way, and leave always a very memorable experience in a positive one, which way they will be most happy to forward and promote. Because again, that word of mouth is golden. You really always have to look at the end result. What is the best experience I can leave my client with, good or bad? You always have to be above and beyond.
Not to be confused with the band Above and Beyond.
Oh man, it's crazy.
Transform the world with above and beyond. Hashtag TATW.
We're just about ready to wrap it up, my good friend. Coming up to the top of the hour. Oh, you got a little more. Go ahead.
Yes. You touched on something, and I think we should go a little bit deeper into it for our next conversation, talking about word of mouth and talking about how we handle our clients. And you touched on something a little bit about how, our contractual obligation. And I think we should maybe address that because there's a huge article that came out in the Huffington Post yesterday about wedding photographers, contracts, and reviews.
Okay.
Something we should talk about, I think, on our next conversation because the first thing that came to my mind when I read this article was some really negative stuff, and it wasn't about the client. It was about the photographers.
Yep.
And I think that this could be a great discussion that we can help educate others on. So
contractual obligations.
Let's talk business. Let's talk
Definitely, we should definitely touch on that. For what the client is entitled to, what's written on the contract, gross point blank, how long are your contracts, the details. Yeah, I'm doing that. I have a 10. Zip, zip, 1-800 zip it, zip. So definitely, we have our next show topic. Yay!
Yeah.
These things are taking a lot of themselves.
Now, did we cover everything? Let me look at our list here. Photos, craft versus convenience. Yeah. Next World Press Photo of the Year come from an iPhone?
You think?
It can absolutely happen.
It can actually happen. I know there are some very stringent rules about how a World Press photo is created and what the equipment is created with. But I can with all that we brought up so far, I'm definitely seeing that happen down the line.
I wonder if our listeners and viewers think that. I would love to.
Could the next World Press Photo of the Year come from an iPhone or quote unquote a mobile platform?
A mobile phone, yeah. I think if that were to be captured, I don't think it would happen on an iPhone. I think it'll happen on something that Nokia would develop. I totally see the camera technology being far more superior on this, as has been proven. But a mobile phone, definitely. I think the mobile ecosystem, it could penetrate that particular arena.
It could.
But what do you, the listener, the men and women out there in the rest of the world think? Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Leave a comment when this episode goes live. Leave a comment. Definitely leave a comment in the show description and let us know what you think. It will be a great conversation.
And if you have topics you want us to talk about, let us know that as well, because there's a billion things that are out there that we can cover, but
so many. Don't just go with what we think of. Again, we're just here and we're laying down what we know and the little experience we have, communally, and basically we're just leaving it out there for you guys just to educate and learn and get inspired from. But definitely, if there's any other topics that you think that we didn't brush on or didn't brush on in depth enough, definitely please let us know, and we'll definitely be here to touch on that for any future episodes to come. My God, again, David, thank you again so much for your presence and always the esteemed experience. It's been fun as always, and again, it's going to be a great exchange. Again, it's like top of the hour, and we've touched on so much. Mobile is here to stay, and definitely we'll try to have the episode up and the MP3 version up and available on the event page on the YouTube channel. You have all the links in the description. If you want to find David Esquire, ladies and gentlemen, always go through his website, esquirephotography.com, and of course, you have all David's contacts and information, how to reach him. You have his blog, you have his Twitter, you have Google+, his Facebook page. David is everywhere on the social platform. You want to reach me, I'm just at Olivier Day on Twitter or olivierday.ca for my website and all my little online presence and tidbits. Again, thank you so much for everybody.
You're on Facebook too, and on Google.
I am on Facebook and on Google+. Yeah, I should mention that.
Just on these little platforms on the internet. He's everywhere as well. He's being modest and humble. That's all he is.
But
he's saying that is like me saying, I'm just a dude with a camera. That's all we are. We're just dudes with cameras.
You're too kind. You're too kind. But it's been a wonderful exchange, and as always, thank you to everyone tuning in and listening and watching, and look forward to hearing from you in the comment section or all over the social media. Just hoping your photography keeps pushing forward in the best that it can, and we're all we're doing, we're trying to grow, and we'll see you at the next broadcast. David Esquire, sign us off.
And as they say in the movies, we will see you soon.
Ciao, guys. Do take care.
Cheers.